Hello traders, welcome to another YouTube live here. Starting off a little bit different. So what we're going to do is incorporate the news section that we have within our Discord at the start of every single crypto market update, at least when we do it every day, as a quick refresher as to what's happening in terms of the fundamentals. Not everything is obviously relevant, but we'll skim over it. If there's anything that kind of jumps out at us, obviously we'll kind of talk about it for a minute or two, but we're not going to actually dive into each article, or we're not even going to dive into the articles that we're going to discuss. That is, if you would like to learn more about it, check out our news section within our Discord to read more about the current things that are happening within the cryptocurrency space. So we see some important things here. Bitcoin is money printing protection as US bond yields hit lowest ever. Very, very important. So the interest rates in the United States for bonds are very, very low, lowest that they've ever been. So people who are looking for fixed income investments that they're going to get some fixed income return is diminishing. So then they're having to put more money in the equities market. And then obviously with that in a little bit of a fearful state as well right now, investors are definitely, I feel like, a little bit worried, which is negative for most of the population, but for people who are kind of anticipating the inevitable, I do think that could be a good opportunity. So going further on, some stuff about Craig Wright, forged documents, some stuff about coronavirus, blockchain-based education platform offered to schools struck by coronavirus. Nothing crazy in here. And Asia's commodities regulator approves Asia Pacific crypto exchange. Some adoption there. Some stuff about the CME futures in the gap. Looking at Binance publishes apology letter. Nothing really important here, but just quick look at what's happening in the current world. Startup Vega test blockchain focused derivatives trading products. Genesis Mining rejects $3.1 million suit from former contractor. So some stuff is not super important. Some stuff is definitely a little bit more. Partner to crypto as U.S. states chase regulations. Now offers crypto leading. So nothing crazy, but if you found anything of this, if you read anything and found it useful, definitely check out our news section. And then quickly going to talk about the current actual announcement we have is if you sign up to Webull, it is a US trader only broker, but if you sign up, you get 2 free stocks. So if you are a US citizen and if you just want free stock, definitely check that out. But now on to the actual price action here. That was our Discord. We're going to start off with Bitcoin and then go on to the many different alts that we're currently looking at within the market. So, like always, we're going to start off with the larger time frames. We'll start off with the weekly. Obviously, we haven't closed yet. We still got a decent amount of time till the close. It's only Tuesday. So we see the price still holding our key level of confluence for the demand area or for the support. It's a key level where we have major levels on the weekly holding this zone and really showing us that this is a valid key zone where price could have a level of reaction where buyers could be then stepping into the market and taking charge. So I'm going to get a little bit of coffee, but we talk about the weekly quite often, and basically we're kind of in a range here because we have a descending trend line that we currently see. This is our anchor point, and then it's pushing down and forcing sellers to push the price, making lower highs. As we can see wicks all right here with candle body closures at the trend line, and then we see another rejection at this zone here. So then we're probably going to get some level of a reaction if we do see the price come up to that zone again. And then on the downside, it's better shown on BLX. This is that green ascending support line that we've been holding since late 2010, and it's a little bit better shown on the weekly, but we can see we're basically right near it. Now, it's not going to be precisely that zone. It can shift a little bit, but overall, we do see that the price is nearing an area where there tends to be a higher low formed due to buyers stepping up and pushing the price, taking out all the asks, and really getting more confidence and conviction in the market. So That's coming up. In my personal opinion, we will see how the volume reacts. We might get a bit of a consolidation, but I think what we're going to talk about is the volume within the consolidation we had back in late 2018, and then looking at the lack of supply that came in, and then looking at no supplies here. Oops, I unclicked my mouse for 1 second there. So looking at this consolidation right here, we can see that initially, yes, we got a significant amount of sell pressure to really dump the price down below the 6K mark. And then we saw a very quick reduction in the actual volume, surprisingly. And then what we're looking for no supplies, which is a reduction of supply, is going to be two candles that have greater volume than the current potential no supply that we're going to be looking at, like so. And then two, it has to be pushing to the downside towards an area of demand or support, because we're seeing how strong the sellers are or the bears by testing areas of supports. And we can see right here, we're trying to push down, as we can see, right, towards the support. So then in that said, let's look at the sell pressure. We see less and less sell pressure, and then like we said before, we're looking for volume that has two previous amounts of volume, or more volume than two previous candles. So this candle right here is a no supply, because the two previous candles have more volume than the no supply, which is this guy right here, and it's bearish. So there was sell pressure pushing the price down, but there was a very limited amount of sell pressure. And then the next candle really signified the strength and the confidence from the bulls, because there was a no supply and there was a huge surge in buy pressure with the next weekly candle after. So in that said, we can dive in more into it, but you know, this is a crypto market update. We're not going to explain everything about VSA, but what we're looking for is some level of a no supply on a key level of support right around here. So we're going to be patient. We already took an entry, made a little bit of profit all along here on a little exhaustion move, but as the consolidation continues, we'll see the structure of the market form, and then we'll trade off that structure using as well the price action in the VSA to form a relationship and a story that the price action is telling us. So overall, we're just seeing how the price action holds the $7,800 zone, because that to us is the major structural support that we're currently holding. So we'll now get into the CME futures, which is the major gap that we've seen in the market. So a lot of people said that this gap was not filled. To me, had the idea that this gap was already filled because the wick and wick down there. Theoretically, if you're doing from candle body to candle body, it was not filled, and then we got it filled yesterday on the 9th. So then that is complete, and then obviously the next major gap we have would be this major gap that we have right here from where the current price is. It's around 13% down, so we do have a large move that we could see occur. But in that said, we'll just kind of talk about on the daily chart what we could be seeing here. So basically the target is 9,100, 9K, somewhere around there, this key zone right around here. So what we're seeing now is a potential, in my opinion, double bottom, where we have a push to the downside. This was a massive, basically straight line down to the $7,700, $7,800 support. And then we got one exhaustion move or our bounce. And then now we're getting our second pullback, testing this $77-ish $100 level of support. I'm just going to get some coffee here. So what we're now looking for is a potential descending trend line that's connecting the lower highs. Ideally, because then we get to put a descending trend line there. We then have a squeeze because we have a very well-respected horizontal level of support, which is around the $7,700 zone right around here. What we're ideally looking for is either a descending trend line there, or it could be even connected from this zone, and the recent high that we had right around here is going to be the second rejection or the second validation of that support zone. So we don't exactly know how it's going to play out. I am going to be pretty patient here. We took a little bit of a profit from this move here, but as the consolidation continues, I will want to see how the structure of the market is going to be looking, as well as looking at the volume. So overall, in the larger time frames, that's what I'm going to be looking out for. I am going to have a bias, because when you do assume something in the market, you are setting a bias for yourself. I am going to set a bias that this is a very strong level of support. Now, it doesn't mean that it cannot break 100%. Every support or resistance zone can be broken. But in that said, I'm going to view the $7,700, $7,800 zone as the floor of our consolidation zone. So if it breaks it, we're now going to enter a new trend or a new momentum back to the downside. But at this point in time, the 77-ish $100 level is going to be my floor. It's going to be the area I squeeze into for any descending zones. So now let's go to the daily chart for the Gemini exchange. That was the 4-hour chart for the CME. We can do the daily chart too, but I think the 4-hour just gives a little more clear of a picture of where we currently are and where we currently could go in terms of more actionable potential analysis, whereas the daily just does show that we have a very strong level of support around 676, 77, but we'll see where it goes. I personally think that we will hold here because of the larger monthly and weekly time frames, but everyone has a different analysis. Everyone views the market differently, so I can't really say one person is right and one person is wrong. Obviously, no one's going to be right every single time. That is impossible. You just have to do your best and be patient and want to enter only in the best possible setups. So going on to the daily here, we see on the Gemini exchange this trend line. Let's just zoom all the way back out, is from end of 2018, start of 2019. We have an anchor point basically at the low at 3,200, and then we do have the candlestick out, but it does show that it's a very valid zone. We see an anchor point, and then we see our first validation actually as a resistance for our second, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a very well-respected zone. And then what do we see again? We see a type B, and then we see a type A. And then we see a very well-respected reactionary move that the price action is currently having right now with the trend line, with the ascending trend line, because the bodies of the candles are sticking above the zone, where the wicks are really projecting down, really showing the attempt to push the price down from the bears, but the bulls are holding this 77, 76-ish $100 level of support very, very well. So we do have to keep that in mind, but because this trend line is pretty valid, we do have to assume that if it does get broken, we will drop to a significant level. Our next key level of support is going to be the structural low of the reverse head and shoulders here. So it's a zone of maybe from 68 to maybe 66 is going to be our next area of support if we do break the 77, 76-ish $100 level of support that we're currently holding, where I'm seeing the market as a level of a floor where we're going to be squeezing off of. So that's the overall daily chart that I view. We do have a mid-range resistance at 8,200. We also have another one at around 9K or 91. So we do have some resistance up above. But looking on the monthly, just talking about it really quickly because we've already discussed this many, many times. But what we're expecting is some consolidation here for even 2 months here, for a little while. So we have to shift the way we trade a little bit from a ranging market, because when we're looking at a move to the downside, it's ranging or to the downside here or to the bullish move to the upside. When you're having a very trending market, you can extend those take profits to significant levels where you're able to really extend the risk reward to 4, 5, 6 and beyond if it's really trending. But within smaller short consolidations like we're probably going to see here, we have to change the way we trade to some degree. We don't have to change the way we use our system or the way we actually go about navigating through the market, but we do have to change our potential take profit areas, our risk reward parameters, because if you're in a consolidation, for example, let's just talk about market structure here a little bit, because it's very important, because what we're seeing right now is lower highs, because this is a high and this is a high. So we're making lower highs, and the previous high was a 20K, and we're making higher lows, right? This is a low, this is a higher low, and the previous low was all the way back in 2017 or 2016, and those lows there. So, but we can see that this is a low and this is a higher low. So we're forming a squeeze in price. So we're getting to a point where we're consolidating closer and closer, because if this does hold, we're going to jump here, we're going to go in here, we're going to kind of go in this range, and we can see it can be from, you know, a couple months at least, May, maybe half of May, July, even up to July. So we have to keep in mind the larger time frames when we are trading intraday, swing trade, especially swing trading, because it's easy to set targets that are far beyond what the market should be able to provide within the current structure, depending on what structure you're trading. So for example, here, like if you're, let's say you're trying to short, like even from around here, right? If you don't know the overall market structure, you might want to be looking to enter, or to take your profits here or maybe beyond, but you don't really see that this is a very strong level of support that might hold the higher low. Like looking at market structure is very, very important. So in that said, that's basically breaking down the daily. I do think that this support will hold. Obviously, no one knows, but in my personal opinion, I do think that we will be able to see the bulls hold this area of support, then seeing the price start to push back up and test this descending trend line. And then once we test that descending trend line, we're probably going to be testing the larger weekly zones we can see right here, and we'll probably come back up here. So for next week, and I think the weekly, you're able to see the price action a little bit more clear. So I think for this foreseeable week and next week, as long as the price stays above our support, we're mainly only really looking to long, because this is a strong level of support. Why would we want to short if the move is going to be from here to here? When if you flip side, the range, if you were to long, if you enter at that similar spot, would be, let's say if it was from here to maybe here or even here. So the risk reward just doesn't make sense shorting when we're so close to a major level of support. Our major level of resistance is going to be this descending trend line right here, which is probably going to be in confluence with this area right here, as we can see. So we don't have that zone currently on the chart, but we can see it's very well respected support, resistance, support. It's going to be a resistance. It's going to be a confluence zone. So from here all the way up to around 9K or 9.1K is a significant move. And that's what we're going to be looking for this upcoming week and the rest of this week, probably. We'll see how far the market goes and where it takes us, but I think we will see some level of consolidation here. But that is kind of the overarching goal that we're looking for. Is we're in a consolidation, and we're currently just bouncing, in my opinion, from support. Yes, we made a higher low, but support to resistance, 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 resistance to resistance. Or I guess we could create an ascending zone. I think that better reflects what we're able to see. So we see an ascending zone, bounce the higher lows, and now we're at a low. So we're at a low right here, a higher low. And this trend line has been very, very well respected. So now, in my opinion, the next stage where the price is going to be looking to make is the next push to retest these highs here, or attempt to. Now, like I said before, there's a confluence zone here, right? There's a level of support right underneath this zone here. So I'm not necessarily probably going to be holding the entire time all the way right up to the 10.5. I'll probably be looking to probably somewhere over here. Just to play it safe, you get the meat of the move, not a problem. But overall, that's what I'm looking for next week. That's my bias that I'm going to be setting for myself. So now, in that said, I'm going to go from the weekly now. Already talked about the daily on Gemini. We can talk about the 4-hour on the Heikin Ashi. Not a whole lot to talk about. We do see that the market is obviously in volume distribution. We see significantly more sell pressure right here than buy pressure. But overall, we still are holding the $7,700 support on the 4-hour time frame. We do see some pretty major rejections of that zone. On the daily chart for the Heikin Ashis, we don't see any green candles yet. So, if you wanted to be very, not cautious, but if you wanted to have more confidence in the market, you would potentially want to see a candle closure of a 4-hour chart, of a daily chart green, and then that might give you a little bit more bias as to which way the price is going to go in the future. But I'm personally going to look more at the 4-hour chart, looking at the price action, looking at the market structure, looking at the VSA on those time frames there. So we'll now go into the 4-hour chart, which is one of my favorites, and then the hour chart is one of my favorites as well. So this is the trade that we took. We just got out of it. We took two take profits. We didn't hit all of them, and then we just got out basically when it came close to our entry there. So not bad. It wasn't an amazing win. If it extended all the way up to the 83, that would have been all of our take profits hit. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But still, it was a successful, profitable trade, and we're never gonna get upset about that ever. But I did draw this descending support here, which isn't perfect, but it is well respected. And I just wanted to get another confluence of the $7,800 zone here. And I was looking for ascending zones, descending zones. But currently right now, this is how I view the market. And it's in a descending zone. But what we're seeing right now, in my view, is going to be from a descending zone to a potential consolidation phase, because the market has to move in phases, right? It goes to a descending zone where it's making lower lows and lower highs. It goes into consolidation phase where it's not making lower lows, but it's also not making higher highs. So it's going sideways. And then it has to make a market structure higher high before it makes a bullish move. And what we're looking for a capture of that initial move to the upside is we're looking for those higher lows. We're looking for those dips. We're looking to see bullish pressure and buy pressure coming into the market here. So this is bullish engulfing candles, injections of buy pressure, double bottoms, breaking the resistance, pin bars to the downside, things that indicate that there's buy pressure. So at this point in time, my bias is, because we already talked about the $7,800 zone being so well respected and a valid key floor for us, we are looking at the market in a consolidation, because we have this zone, this is the anchor, we have 1, 2, and this well-respected zone here, 3. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 respected touches of a trend line make it a valid zone for us, a dependable zone. So now we have a dependable zone creating our support, and we also have our horizontal support creating our zone of confluence. So now we can say, yeah, this zone has a level of confluence to it that is able to support the price, and it's already supported it once. So we got our first major injection of buy pressure, pushing the price up to its near high. So now we're getting a consolidation with our current resistance that we'll draw in on our 4-hour time frame right here. So I think we'll just delete this, and then we already have the support right here from those 2 horizontal zones or horizontal lines. And then I'm going to put my supply, my minor level of resistance right around here. So currently we're just consolidating sideways. My view is that we will continue sideways until we either break and make a market structure higher high or market structure lower low. But we're going to always wait and wait for confirmation. But as always, we've got to have some sort of bias, and my bias is to upside. But as long as we stay within this range, I'm basically going to try to play the price action from buying supports. I don't know if I would be selling resistances because of that CME futures test that's kind of up here, retesting this zone. So my shorter term time frame plan that I currently have right now is I'm going to wait until price is making a couple lower highs, and then hopefully I'll get a trend line to connect them somewhere. We don't exactly know yet, but that is my ideal situation. And then we get a break to the upside, a pullback validating a previous high as a new support, or previous resistance as a new level of support, also in confluence with our descending zone. And then we see more buy pressure than sell pressure within the volume, and that for me would be enough to take me in, as long as all those check marks are in place. And then we see buy pressure on the new support. We see some pin bars. We see some validation that yes, there's buyers. We know that there's a high probability due to the three pillars that we're talking about: price action, VSA, and market structure. So then if we do enter here, we got our first high take profit right here. We got a strong level of support that we held initially, and then we took a nosedive down. So we might retest that zone again. So it's probably going to be our TP1. And then, like we said before, we do have that CME futures gap around here. So that could be the final area of take profit that we could be seeing. But overall, if we get a move from down here, depending on the risk, we would probably be looking, if it's a risk reward of 2 to 1 there, that would be the first obvious level, because we do see the market as a consolidation. So there's a high probability of it actually holding this zone, because we've held it in the past twice so far. So if we break it, that's phenomenal. So we'll look on the smaller time frames, but overall, first probable level of take profit, unless we just absolutely blast through it. If we're getting some level of hesitation, it just makes sense, because we view the market in a consolidation. But if it breaks above, then we're looking at our next level, which is around 8,500, which we can see has been a support before. So that's the 4 hour. Now I'm going to go to the 1 hour chart. And for anyone on YouTube who have questions, I see the questions come in, and I will answer them after this 1 hour time frame is complete. So not a whole lot more to discuss on the hour time frame, really, because we've already kind of discussed what we're looking for, because this was our descending trend line that we traded initially, which was right here. Right around here. So that's what we traded initially, and then we got an entry basically right above the green demand zone, and then we rode it up, and then we got stopped out this morning when this candle formed. We did get a couple take profits. We got one take profit here, and then another take profit right around here. So, or I guess this zone right here when it poked up above, and then we got another one around here, and then I dumped down, stopping us out for the rest of our trade. But overall, we were able to capture some profits here, which was not a bad thing. And then now what we currently are seeing is a potential double bottom. I'm sure you can see it, very, very easy to notice. And this double bottom is also in confluence with our overall market structure that we're looking for. So this is our first bottom of the double bottom. So then we're looking for the second, which already has been created right here. So now we got our first validation that there are bulls within the second bottom. We see that there is a buy impulse move to the upside, showing that there's buy pressure within that zone. So ideally, for a minimum level of confluence, we would want to see a double bottom within the larger double bottom that validates that this was not just a single time. We're going to get a double confirmation, a double injection of buy pressure. So then we get a double bottom here. And if we're really wanting to see more confluence, able to push past the recent market structure high, then you get the price action because of the double bottom formation and the completion of the second bottom, and also market structure, previously market structure high, potential new market structure support. And then also we would be looking at the volume as well. Hopefully there's going to be some no supply or reduction of sell pressure and then some more buy pressure coming into the market. That would be the ideal situation that we would find in order to long in this market. So we do have to remain cautious though, because obviously we're in a downtrend and we view the market as a consolidation because the support has held. But the bears are definitely still present, still confident. We see that there is a lot of sell pressure. We see that massive dump to the downside there. We did get a hold of that zone. We can see basically it's had more sell pressure. Well, I guess I had this as much as this one here. But yeah, there's definitely less people here. I can't say there's less people selling because that's a lot of volume here. But overall, we are looking for a potential bounce there. But like we said before, we're not wanting to enter just randomly. What we're looking for is lower highs to form a descending trend line, sort of like here, descending trend line. Something like this, maybe, we don't exactly know. But if we're able to form something like this, then obviously we have an area that we can use, that we're going to use as a new support, which is a current resistance. So right now we're going to stay patient. It's the hour chart, so we'll see how the next couple candles play out, at least for a minimum. But that's basically the analysis here. We'll see how it goes. We just took a trade. We'll see how the other alts are going to go. We will cover the alts in this video, but going to get a quick drink of coffee and then also answer some questions, and then go into, actually, first we'll go into the tools because that's a part of the BTC analysis, and then we'll go into the questions, and then we'll do the crypto market update. So this is the second last thing that we're going to be looking at for the BTC market update. We see that the bulls are just losing confidence. It broke the low here, although it is gaining a little bit more buy pressure, but that could just be a retest to validate this new resistance, which it currently was a previous support. But we'll see how it reacts to these zones. Like I said before, it's a zone. It's not going to be an exact price line on a chart, so it could just be holding this support. We'll see how it plays out the next couple days. The sellers gained quite a bit of confidence here initially, but there has been some retracement from the sellers' confidence because the amount of positions that are opened on Bitfinex for margin shorts have reduced. We can see that right here, quite significantly and aggressively after that stop from the $7,700 zone after, I'm sure, the sell-off, after that big bounce. So the sellers definitely are backing off a little bit, but the buyers aren't really biting just yet. So it makes sense that we're going to consolidate for a little while. We'll see how the buyers are reacting within the next few days within the consolidation. We'll see if there's volume accumulation within the 4-hour and 1-hour chart. And also we'll be looking at the supply and demand within this tool as well. The final thing we will be going over is going to be the BTC longs and shorts on different exchanges, not just on Bitfinex. This is a great visual representation because it shows you an actual chart, so you can see the historic averages and all that stuff, or the historic values. But within the other tool that we're using, it's more of a snapshot where you're getting a quick 24-hour time frame percentage of the confidence longs and shorts, as well as the 1 hour. So it's a percentage out of 100, 50-50. So if the bulls have more confidence, the bulls will have a higher percentage, like 55 or 60%, and then the bears will have less percentage, like 45 or 40%, because that will represent less confidence. So, and that said, we'll now go over it. We're going to first go over the 24-hour time frame, which is right here. On the BitMEX exchange, the bulls have a little bit more weight. They have a little bit more control, 50.5% basically, and then the bears only have 49.5%. Not a huge discrepancy. Binance, very, very similar, 50.15, 49.85, so very, very similar. Bybit is same story, 49.23, 50.77. Very, very similar. There's not a huge discrepancy between the buyers and sellers on the 24-hour time frame on all three exchanges that we're analyzing within this update here. And then now going on the 1 hour, which is a very short time frame, within the same three exchanges, we see that it is more buy side heavy. So there's buyers, there's more buy confidence. The bulls have a stronger conviction in the market within the shorter, smaller 1 hour time frame. We can see on BitMEX, 62.7% of people are longing, are buying, thinking that the price is going to go up in price, where there's only 37.3% of people that are short, that are opening up short positions. On Binance, less discrepancy, but still bull heavy. 55% on Binance think that it's going to go up. 44.6 to be exact are going to think that the price is going to go down, or short heavy. And then Bybit is not a huge difference. 51.6 and 48.4. A little bit more towards the buy side, but not a whole lot. So on the supply demand side, it does look like we are able to hold the consolidation at this point. There's more buyers on the longer term time frame coming into the market. We see that when the price is nearing its $7,800 level of support, there is more weight towards the buy side, showing that this $7,800 is a level of support, is a level of demand where people are looking at this zone saying, hey, this is a good area to buy, which is what we're looking for. That is our ideal situation, because we can use that for our squeeze if we're getting a descending trend line. We know that people have bought there in the past, and it's a strong level of support. So it's good for our overall analysis that we're able to find those confluences, not just in the price action, but in the relationship between the supply and demand and the price action together. So we'll now go over the comments and questions within the YouTube chat, and then we'll go over the different alts that we're going to be going over within the market. So that is going to be Ripple or XRP, Link, Chainlink, BNB or Binance Coin, EOS, Ethereum or ETH, and I do have gold and SPY on my analysis as well. We're probably not going to go over them, but I just like to kind of, because there's so many things happening. Like, I should put crude oil up there as well, because there's obviously some crazy volatility happening in the overall market. So now on to the questions. Stefan asks, I bought XRP 17 hours ago, expecting it to fall back once BTC would bounce back. Expecting it to fall back once BTC would bounce. Okay, but seems like XRP got its own life so far. I'm up 1.2% minute for minute average. That is great that you are up 1.2%, Stefan. Just make sure that you have a plan. You know, it depends if you're investing. If you're investing, you don't really have a specific goal of a target that you're trying to hit. Like, oh, I'm holding until XRP goes to $1. I guess you can, but investing is a different approach, whereas trading, you have a specific set criteria and a kind of a trade plan that you're creating, where you have a good stop loss, you have good risk management, you have good risk reward ratios, you have good take profit areas where they're kind of close to resistance if you're longing, and it's a different approach to it. So I hope you are taking trading in a systematic way, and I wish you the very best in your trade. Matt Ellison, what is the benefit of using Heiken Ashi for TA? Yep, so I use Heiken Ashi mainly just to understand the momentum of the price action. So just when you're looking at momentum, it can be a little bit challenging looking at candlesticks. So I use a couple different approaches to understand momentum. The first one is just zooming out and looking at the larger time frame. That's the best approach to understanding which way you should be trying to take the trade, in my view anyways. If you're intraday trading, short-term, even swing trading, looking at the weekly, looking at the monthly, looking at the daily, looking at larger time frames will give you a better scope of the macro trend, which obviously is very beneficial. Even if you're intraday trading, it's very good to understand the overall analysis and the overall trend of any asset that you're trading. So mainly I use it for momentum. So it's another validation for me for momentum. I use the Heiken Ashi mainly on the 4-hour and daily time frames. I don't really go beyond that, so just 4H and 1D time frames, and I'll just quickly analyze the Heiken Ashi is which way the momentum is going on the daily and 4-hour to see if it's holding, to see if it's shifting, and it's just for me another validation of a potential direction that I could be seeing the market move to. Your second question, what is this chart with 3 question marks? I'm not sure exactly, I don't know when you actually asked that question, but I assume it's it might be this one, because this is the one that a lot of people either ask about or don't know what's going on. So this is the comparison, not exact comparison, but I overlaid the shorts here. But if you type in BTC USD long, it's going to give you the amount of margin positions that are opened long on Bitfinex. So it's not going to give you every single long position. It's not going to be an exact sign of confidence from the bulls or bears. It's not an exact tool, but what it's going to show you is the amount of positions that are opened on margin on the Bitfinex exchange. And then we use the other tool to analyze Bybit, Binance, as well as BitMEX. So we're getting a good round overview of the supply and demand, both in a snapshot, 24-hour/1 hour for our previous one, and then we are looking at the more longer term, I guess, support resistance, looking at the overall overview of like not just a snapshot, but seeing the, I guess, not really price action. It's hard to explain because it's not really price, but the relationship and the story of the price of not the price action, but of the confidence of the bulls and bears within the market. Hopefully I explained that away. The chart I'm referring to had the two lines with the percentages. Yes, so hopefully I explained that well. This line here represents the amount of short positions that are opened on margin on the Bitfinex exchange. And then this one is going to be that, but then it's the long positions that are opened on margin on the Bitfinex exchange. And then we have this one here that's going to give us BitMEX, Binance, and Bybit, 24-hour confidence here, and then 1 hour confidence here. So hopefully that gives you a good explanation as to why we're using that to give us an understanding or a better understanding of the supply and demand within the current market. So in that said, we have completed the Bitcoin market update. We will now go to the different alts within the current trades that we're kind of looking at right here. Matt said, thanks. Yeah, no problem. Here to help for sure. So we'll start off with Link and then make our way around. If anyone's watching within our YouTube live and have any questions, please just drop them in the comments and we'll stop maybe halfway through and answer any questions that anyone has. So we'll start off right away with Link. So Link has been holding very, very well above this ascending trend line here. This is the 4-hour time frame. Now, Link has been one of the few alts within the assets that I'm looking at that's actually been able to hold or even come close to its all-time high. So the all-time high was this green zone right here, the previous all-time high, or candle body all-time high, where you see wicks, but then this is where the actual body of the candle closed, which to me is very significant. So we see that right there, and then this is the all-time high, all-time high. So we're very close to the all-time high, which is crazy because almost every other alt is not at its all-time low, but it's pretty low compared to these all-time highs. Look at almost every single, look at Ethereum, look at EOS, look at BNB, look at XRP. A lot of these coins are not even close to all-time high, but look at Chainlink. This is the highest point that the price has ever been, and we're just right here. We're at just under $4. And we got until $5 until we're blasting off again, it seems like. So I'm very bullish on Link just because of the overall market structure. And looking at the weekly, the daily, looking at the VSA, looking at the volume, look how awesome that volume looks. Increasing volume coming into the market. Less sell volume than buy volume within the market. Strong volume accumulation. Zooming out right here, looking at the weekly, we can see that's the candle closures on the weekly, and then we see a strong rejection of that zone. So we know that there was a decent amount of sell pressure right there. Yes, so we're seeing a pullback, which totally makes sense. So right now, we are within the pullback phase, and we're holding lower highs. So this is turning out to be a great situation for us here. We're not looking at so much the ascending support here because we're still looking at the market in a bullish way. What we're really trying to see is a potential break in this descending zone. So we're seeing a squeeze here. Remember that green horizontal support that held us on the weekly? This is that zone right here. So like I said, my bias is going to be that this area is going to be where lots of buyers are going to be located. In that said, we have a descending zone that is holding the price, making lower highs, squeezing the price closer to the apex of the pattern. We have an edge playing these squeezes up against major key levels of supports or resistances. We have an edge in the market where we have a higher probability of one thing happening over another, and we have a systematic approach to capitalizing on these situations. So it's not ready yet. Link needs to see at least a squeeze in here, and then we'll play within that squeeze. Or if we break the ascending support here, we'll dip down below here, and then we'll have to play between this squeeze here. We might be able to capitalize on a nice little short play to this level of support, because if we do break this ascending trend line, yeah, we'll probably be able to hit this level of support again. I wouldn't be surprised because it's pretty well respected. So we'll see how this plays out. So option one is for a potential short here from a break of this ascending zone to then a low to a support right here. Mainly basically just going to be taking profits at this zone because I don't think we're going to be breaking below it. If it does, obviously we have to be open-minded and see that through. But for the majority of the take profits, we will want to be seeing this zone right here. Now that's option one. Option two is if we actually hold this ascending trend line right here, and then we continue holding it and actually break this descending zone. If that is the case, we will be looking for long opportunities within this zone here. Because we're on an uptrend, we have broken a descending zone. Overall on the daily, it's looking very solid, lots of volume accumulation. Price action is now bullish. Market structure, if it breaks this resistance, is now market structure higher high. We're looking for the higher low to come in to look to enter. So we already have a systematic approach that we're going to be taking Link whichever way it goes. So we're just waiting for this squeeze to occur, and then we'll make a decision based on the breakout and based on what's currently occurring in the markets. Now to our next pair, XRP. So we'll go to the 4-hour. We'll probably even go to the daily chart because Link we've been talking about for a while. We have a very good understanding of exactly what's happening, but XRP is a little bit different of a story. Now, in my opinion, it's looking a little bit better of a short, and I'll discuss why on the daily chart. So first things first, we had a zone of confluence right here. We had a support. We had an ascending zone break. We're now pulling back. We're now at the exhaustion phase because this was a push. The market moves in pushes and pullbacks, or push, exhaustion, push, exhaustion, push. We're just made a push because we broke our key zone here, and also this zone. So we had a strong push to the downside with one major bearish candle to the downside. Now we're getting our exhaustion, our pullback phase to a potential near area of sensitivity, like we can see here, resistance, support, support, support. So we can know, yep, this is a pretty key zone, going to be some reaction at this area, and that's what we're getting right now. So it looks like we are making our lower high. This is a high, this is a lower high, could be making a lower high, could be making that next extension to the level of support at around 0.18, 0.17, somewhere around there. So we'll now dive into the smaller time frames. It's not looking phenomenal for this trade. Now you could argue that this is a level of support right here, which 100% you could argue, and you can 100% put that in, and we shall. That's not a problem, right? But then looking at what we're currently at right now, looking at the volume, there's definitely more sell volume than buy volume. Looking at consolidations, we see one rejection and then we see two rejection, but we do see a no supply right there, because there should be an attempt to push down. I'm just looking, the volume actually looks pretty strong. This is actually a no demand. It'd be nice if it was at the support there, but overall we're just seeing a consolidation, not really seeing too much right now in terms of no demand, no supplies. Yeah, it's looking pretty looking even right now. But overall, my bias on this particular trade is a little bit more to the short side. I don't really see a trend line I can draw that would create more confluence within this zone, really, unless we're really going to get something like this. I don't really see anything. But overall, we're seeing a bit of a pullback here, but this kind of looks to me like it's a consolidation to form the next leg down. So we're looking a little bit more bearish on XRP. I'm not really going to go beyond that because I don't really see anything tradable at this moment. On the hour chart, that's some pretty crazy wicks to the downside there. So we see a consolidation. You know, we have drawn in very nice lines. You could argue, if you are not counting the wicks, this could look like a potential reverse head and shoulders. If you are counting the wicks, still this could be a reverse head and shoulders. But to me, it's just a consolidation, and we're going to play it as such. So, you know, at these highs here, we could be looking for shorts, but at the end of the day, BTC is going to be the market leader, and we're going to mainly trade this during the volatile markets, and when it's trending, when it's able to provide a little bit more of a bias and direction, then we'll be able to have more sympathy plays within the markets. But at this point in right now, I think the 4-hour looks the best for XRP. I'm not really looking to take action right away. I think Link's a better option, and we'll be able to find better opportunities for shorts within the different alts that we will be looking at. So overall, we're just stuck within a range between around 0.216-ish as the resistance and 0.198 as the support. And we're just playing within that range. And ideally, if we are looking for shorts, you know, if we do see the consolidation and if we see a nice ascending wedge, ascending triangle, ascending channel, bear flag within this range, there could be another leg down towards the 0.1845-ish range for the next support zone. So keep that in mind. It's looking pretty good, but we don't want to get too granular because it hasn't really formed anything that we're looking to take yet. We're just looking at the market structure, looking at the VSA, and looking at the price action on the larger view. And then until we can refine something and say, yes, this is a great point, we're going to stick back and kind of look at the top of the hill instead of looking right in the grass, if that kind of makes sense. So that is complete. Just had a nice drink of coffee there. So the next pair we're going to go into is going to be BNB, or Binance Coin. We're going to start off with the daily here and then move down. We can see kind of stuck at a support zone right here. And let's zoom out because bit of an odd market here because we made lower lows and lower highs, and we made a higher high, and then now we made a lower low. So right now, let's just take everything off and start from scratch right here because I really want to understand what we're seeing in the market. Very strong level of resistance here. Definitely key note on that. Oops, want to make that red. So around $26, very, very strong level of resistance. Noted. And then on the support side, right around there is going to be my major level of support at that low. We can see it's a resistance, resistance, support, 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 resistance, and it falls below. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then I think we have to go in smaller for the more granular details, but you know, we can draw in some other zones like so. Like this is another zone right here that I can see. That's going to be a mid-range zone, so it's going to be white because we got the major demand zone, which is going to be green, which I think we can make a little bit bigger. I don't love this section right here. It's not as ideal as I want it to be. That's very, very messy right there, but I think we'll just have to make do with what we have with our current level of support right there. So right now, that's kind of all we have, and then we'll look for mid-range zones within, the daily as well, right here. So we got our major demand zone, we got our major supply zones right around here. We'll just refine it a little bit, like so, and then increase that, I think, just to that area there. There we go. Just so we have a nice structure and a nice zone that we're able to work with. I do like to have it's kind of a systematic approach to how to view the markets, and this is my way. This is my way of doing it. So there we go. There is our zones that we're currently working with, and then I think we can put in one more mid-range zone around here, and probably one that we're currently holding right around here as well. And then between each zone, let's just move that up a little bit like so. You know, we're looking at 10, 11, 12% on average, so definitely worth looking into. So we figured out our zones. I'm pretty satisfied with them. I think they were very similar to the zones we had before, but it's really good to take a step back and re-review an alt and re-review a coin to understand where it currently is going. So right now, coming back down to our support here, we're in a ranging market from major resistance to major support. We're nearing our key structural support here. We're not at it yet, so the key structural support would be around $13. So we're at a minor level of support right here, which could hold at the end of the day. We don't really see any validation of the price holding just yet. On the 4-hour we do, but on the daily we don't really see anything. We don't really see any green candles or any real validation, so I'm going to be very patient. So, you know, we do see that's a strong level of support on the 4-hour anyways. But at this point in time, we can draw another minor level right over here. Like so. So that's current outlook. You know, if we are able to break above this zone and then retest, 7%, that's not so bad, but I don't really feel comfortable using this zone as a support. I think I could. It's just, basically, it's the decision of, do you want to use this zone as your structural low to squeeze off of? And at this point, in my opinion, it kind of makes more sense to be looking at BTC a little bit more. We could use this zone, the $16.50 range, because we see it's respected many times before. Let's just take a picture, because we see that it's been both a support and resistance. We can see very strong level of resistance right here, very strong level of support, very strong level of support, very strong level of resistance multiple times here, very strong level of support. So we see it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major times. And if you want to count that time too. But so 100% we can use this zone as a squeeze because we've seen the larger time frames. But to me, because the market's very volatile, I might be looking mainly at BTC because Bitcoin's in a similar situation where we're just consolidating sideways. And to me, it just makes more sense to trade kind of the, not the index, but the market mover, the coin that has the biggest impact on the overall asset class and the overall cryptocurrency market. Why not just trade the underlying assets? So that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to be trading BTC for this consolidation, I think, until we start seeing a little bit more traction and a little bit more trending of a market. Then we'll be able to have these sympathy plays with these alts. But right now, I'm pretty happy with what the current structure is. We're consolidating. We did dip below here, but looking at the 4-hour close there as well. Let's look at the daily to see if it closed. Daily close there is below the zone as well. Okay, wow. Well, I made a lower low then, so that support is less valid. I didn't think that actually closed all the way below that zone, but we do have a resistance there. So now I'm going to talk about BNB a whole lot more. We know where it is. We know this overall market structure. We know where the supply and demand zones are. We know the mid-range zones that are well respected, but overall, I think that we will have better options in some other trades here. So on an overview, midway overview, Link's definitely going to be our long opportunity if it does come back up here. XRP is a potential short, but not really in the short term. We got to see it kind of hold an ascending zone maybe a little bit more, or give us a little bit more of a confirmation that there's an actual price action pattern right there. Right now, we're not really seeing anything. And then BNB is holding this 16.20, 16.30-ish dollar support, and it's got a mid-range zone there. So we're just consolidating sideways. Now for the last two, it's going to be EOS and Ethereum. Quick look at BTC on the hour chart. We're now getting a pullback to validate this support, that $7,700 support, for a second time within this major second reaction to this zone. This is the first major reaction, and then we're getting a second major reaction right here. So if we are able to get that double bottom, then we might get a little pushback up here to form that lower high like we were looking for. So now to our next pair, which is going to be EOS. Let's go to the daily chart and then zoom in from there. So we see a very, very well-respected descending trend line connecting the lower highs. Definitely going to be something to keep in mind when we are looking at a potential lower high that we will be forming sooner or later. Looking at the current mid-range zones that we have, they are well-respected. We could move this up a little bit, and I think what we could do is actually make this a little bit more refined, a little bit thinner, like so, and then we could probably refine this as well to create a little bit more clean of a zone, like so, and then we could probably make one more at the lows here, kind of like that. So that's where I'm going to be placing my zones. That looks a lot cleaner, so I'm happy with that. It looked way too messy before. So that's the daily chart. 4 hour. This is our lower low. We're forming lower highs and lower lows. This is our lower low, although you can't guarantee it. It could just form another lower low before coming back up and forming our lower high. But, you know, all we can say is we are at an area of support, as we can see. We do have an area of resistance that's around $3.20. Keeping that in mind, we do see a potential reverse head and shoulders here. Hopefully everyone can see that. Let's just get our, oh, it's in this one right here. Let's get our head and shoulders. This is our left shoulder. This is our head, and now this is our right shoulder. So now we're hopefully going to get a breakout here. We could draw a descending zone, if not a horizontal resistance. Let's just see if this, don't really think that's going to work unless we put it below. So I'm just going to put a horizontal zone that represents our key level right around here. So it's a little bit wider of a zone, but we do have to keep that in mind. I do want to see the price break at the top of this zone before we make any judgments on the potential breakout of this reverse head and shoulders. I will actually just leave this here in case anyone doesn't really see it, and we're talking about it within the Performante Premium channel. I will leave that here in case anyone doesn't really know why we're potentially looking at a long for EOS. Potentially. We're not going to just enter randomly, right? So just looking at next zones, we see this zone right here. Let's just extend that out further, and then we see a reaction right before it dumped. So looking at this potential opportunity, reverse head and shoulders are going to be reversal patterns. So it's going to be pushing the price from a downtrend to a consolidation, which hopefully this is going to be creating the reverse head and shoulders pattern within this consolidation phase, and then you're going to get a move to the upside. So that's the overall outlook for a reverse head and shoulders pattern. What we're looking for ideally is a higher high, breaking this high right here. That for me is breaking the market structure high. So then for me, we're not in a consolidation anymore. We're in now a potential bullish market. So then market structure is complete. Price action, this is a reverse head and shoulders. If it breaks this, it breaks the reverse head and shoulders. That is now complete. All we need left is to see a reduction in sell volume and an increase in buy volume. Ideally, we'd see a potential no supply. That would be ideal. Looking at the current market right now and its volume, let's just zoom right in, looking to see if there is no supplies within the market. So yes, we do. Like, this is a no supply right there. That's a no supply because the two previous amounts of transactions were more than the potential no supply. The next candle was a bullish engulfing candle. It was at an area where there should be a push because it was at a support. We're testing the supply for shorts and we're testing demand at resistances, and we don't see a significant amount of sellers tried to push the price down at that point, so we're getting no supply there. After the no supply, strong move to the upside, testing our high, came back down, retesting our right shoulder, and it looks like we are holding. So it's just a matter of if we are going to hold, but I don't think it's a good enough confirmation until we get a higher high formation. So in my opinion, EOS is a good opportunity for a long, as well as BTC if the things that we talked about actually come into fruition. Last thing we're going to be looking at is going to be Ethereum. Very similar structure to BTC here. We see the prices at a strong level of support at just under 200, around $192. We can see it was a previous resistance in the previous price action. Broke that market structure, made a move to the downside. Now we are holding lower highs and, oops, I'll just leave that there. So overall, we have a strong level of support that we could be holding. So you have to keep in mind that this could be the floor of our overall market structure. Also looking at the volume, we see a major ultra high volume within that level of demand. So that's climactic volume coming to the sell side, indicating that this is a very high sensitivity area where there's lots of people entering orders at this zone. So, looking at the 4 hour with that in mind, we can see this zone is a very key area within the price action, around $191, $192. So, larger time frame, we do have a descending zone that we are holding right here. That is going to be the price or the zone to break in order for us to see the market structure shift, in my opinion. So, we do have a zone of confluence. In a perfect world, I wouldn't mind seeing some consolidation here until we see a potential break in our previous support, new resistance. If we see a break at this zone, we're seeing a break in our confluence zone where we have our descending trend line as well. Anchor point, first touch, second touch. If we get some sort of reaction before, it's 4 touches, making a valid zone. If we're going to break that zone, retest it, that is going to be an area where I'm really looking to enter at a long position. So I don't want to front run the market too much, but in my view, I think we're just going to consolidate for a little while. I'd like to see the price break this zone. Once the price breaks this zone, we'll get a confirmation that, we're making a structural higher high from this low here, and then we're going to hopefully enter on that higher low before the next impulse push to the upside. So that's the overall analysis for Ethereum on the longer term time frame on the 4 hour. Let's now zoom in on the 1 hour to kind of assess the more recent price action and what we're currently seeing. So got a bit of a descending zone. I can see, not crazy, but maybe not. Got that zone there. I'm going to keep that as a support where it currently is. But for the most part, we're just kind of in a range. I could draw that descending zone, but we're going to keep it a little bit loose and just stick with our larger major supply zone, or minor supply zone, sorry. It's not a major supply zone, it's a minor supply zone, and then this is more of a major supply zone that we're currently seeing. So it does look like a reverse head and shoulders as well, but I think EOS has more room before the major level that we are looking for a possible take profit. We're looking at maybe 6% if we're not getting the best entry. Good risk reward parameters, whereas Ethereum, our next major level of resistance is not too far away. We're only looking at 4%. So it just makes sense to look for alts that have a higher percentage possibility and a higher risk reward parameter that you could be looking for if you are entering where you are looking to enter. So that is the crypto market update. We really hope you enjoyed it. We went over many different pairs. We got a few good opportunities here. EOS definitely stood out as a really good opportunity for a possible long if we do get that higher low formation after the higher high. That's a good opportunity. BNB not so much. XRP not so much. Link we talked about as a good opportunity for either short or long. We do have to have patience here that as we're coming closer to the apex, there's just less and less trading opportunities until the price breaks out. Once the price breaks out of the apex, out of the squeeze, out of the funnel, well, then we have a whole other set of trading opportunities that we can capitalize on. But when the price does near the apex, near the funnel of the price action, it gets less and less tradable because it's going to get more random because it's going to be bouncing off a tighter zone when it instead it can be ranging from zone to zone when it's further away. When you're getting tighter into these funnels here, it's just not going to be a viable tradable environment until it breaks either resistance or support. So that is the overall analysis for the crypto market update for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please drop a comment within the comment section below, and we'll be sure to answer them either this time around or in the next video. And if you do have any questions regarding any of our announcements or anything regarding our Discord, please definitely just drop a comment in the discussions and questions, which is right here, and we'll be sure to answer it. I will be posting this video within our Bitcoin markets like always. And until next time, have a good one.